Welcome to Had to Be There, the podcast that allows you to explore the world's greatest destinations through the stories of those who have been there. Here to ignite the wanderlust within, your host and favorite travel planner, Kelly Acevedo.
Hello, travelers. Welcome back to the Had to Be There podcast. I'm your host, Kelly, and this is our very first bonus episode. A lot of times when I'm having these conversations with my guests, we tend to lose track of time a little bit, which is great because it means that the conversation is easy and natural and not forced, and all the things that I love about meeting these people and hearing about their experiences. And for the sake of the episode, I would of course like to have more content than I need and have to cut back a little than not have enough content and have to try and stretch it, which tends to make it feel unnatural. So in this week's episode, I got to meet Rob, who loves to travel. He's a psychic medium and meteorologist. He shared some of his ghost stories from his travels with us. And after all was said and done, we had talked for about an hour, which is, as you know, nearly twice as long as most of my episodes, which is fine. And it was all great conversation, but I did trim it down to make it more in line with, our typical episode length. But the part of the conversation that I removed, I just didn't feel right about leaving on the cutting room floor. So I'm going to put it up here on YouTube. I hope that it will entice you to listen to the full episode, which drops tomorrow on Halloween. Or if you've already listened to the episode and came to hear this portion of the conversation on YouTube, welcome. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. And when the content allows, I hope to be able to bring you more bonus episodes like this. So before we jump in, a quick word from our sponsors, which, as you know, is myself, and then we'll get right into this conversation with Rob.
The Had to Be There podcast is brought to you by Vacations by Kelly, where your host becomes your travel agent. As a proud affiliate of Academy Travel, Kelly specializes in Disney destinations and can help with all non-Disney excursions worldwide as well. When you book with Kelly, you're getting much more than a travel agent. You're getting a personalized concierge-level travel partner. And the best part? Her services are completely free. It's true. So when you're ready to make your next travel dream a reality, Vacations by Kelly is ready to make it happen. Visit hadtobethere.net/vacations to get started.
I think the most amazing paranormal experience I had in England was what I would call a ghost guide at Hever Castle.
A ghost guide?
Yes. Again, I knew nothing about these castles. I didn't know who lived where until I got there. And then I started having conversations with the ghosts. So have you ever heard of Hever Castle?
Yes, this one I've heard of.
Okay. But you haven't been there, though?
I have not been there.
Okay. Well, for those who are unfamiliar with Hever Castle, it's located in the village of Hever in Kent, England.
Yes.
That's about 30 miles southeast of London. I found out that the castle was built in the 13th century, and from the 1400s to the 1500s, there was a very famous family there. And one of the daughters of the family became Anne Boleyn, one of King Henry VIII's 6 wives.
Right.
So, and you may remember that Anne Boleyn was beheaded. She was another one that was beheaded.
Very popular back then.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, unfortunately.
Right.
So I knew nothing about the Boleyn family. I knew nothing about, of course, in history books, I remember Anne Boleyn was beheaded, but that was it. And by the way, I do have to say that my husband watched the entire series of The Tudors, but he watched it in another room downstairs from where because it was way too violent for me.
Yeah.
I don't mind talking to dead people, but I don't want to see how they die.
Right, exactly. I don't want to know how they got there. I'm with you.
Yeah, I can do without the gory parts.
Mm-hmm.
So what was interesting about Hever Castle? Now, Hever Castle was it's 2 stories, and it's a typical castle. It has a moat around it, and actually it's 3 stories. And it has a moat around it. And a whole bunch of fireplaces and so forth. It's really on a beautiful estate. So if anybody's planning to go to England, you need to see this place.
Yeah.
It was actually, here's a little fun fact. It was actually purchased by William Waldorf Astor in 1903. He was a millionaire. But it was eventually sold in, I think, 1983, and then it became a historic place.
Mm-hmm.
But when I entered the castle, I developed a headache immediately as soon as I walked through the front door, and that always tells me that there's a ghost present.
Right.
So I was standing there next to Tom. That's my husband's name.
Mm-hmm.
I was standing there next to Tom, and I said, "There's a guy here," and he said his name is George. I said, "Did you hear that?" And he said, "There's nobody next to you."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Who are you? Who are you talking to?" And I said, "I don't know." He says his name is George, and I said, "Does that make any sense to you?" And he said, "Yes, we are in the Boleyn family home, and George was Anne Boleyn's brother."
What?
Who was also beheaded with Anne Boleyn at the same time. And ghosts often haunt places that they enjoyed in life, or
right.
or where they died. So he decided to just stay in his boyhood home of Hever Castle. So
hang out. Why not?
Sure. I mean, you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is that George became a tour guide for us.
What?
Yeah, and as he led us through Hever Castle, he was telling me about different rooms and things that happen in different places. And of course, I'm writing all this down, and Tom's rolling his eyes, going, whatever. But we got into one of the large sitting rooms, and there was a giant fireplace there, and suddenly my right elbow felt like it was on fire. It was burning, and I kept looking at it, and there was nothing wrong with it. And George said, "This is where I burned my elbow near the fireplace when I was a child."
What?
And I thought, wow, that's crazy.
Right.
No need to share that with me.
Right.
But
thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah, it's okay.
Wow.
So then he told me that where Anne's bedroom was, and sure enough, we go upstairs, and sure enough, it says this is Anne's bedroom.
Oh my God!
This is Anne's bedroom, and I'm like, okay, all right. And then he said to me something that there was no way I could have verified this when I was there. He said, I was very proud of Anne in 1532. And I just thought, okay, 1532. Henry VIII died in 1547. I don't even know if Anne Boleyn was alive in 1532. So when I got home, I looked it up and I researched it. And then I found out on September 1st, 1532, that was the date the king bestowed on Anne the title of Marquis of Pembroke. So with that title, she actually became a royal. So it was no wonder he was proud of her on that day. Just freaky things,
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool though when you have a dead person being your tour guide.
I mean, who better to show you around if you think about it?
Right. And I did sketch him. Who knows the place
better?
Yeah, so I sketched him in my book, too, so that anybody that reads the Ghosts of England will see what he looks like.
Wow.
He did say, though, that his biggest regret was that he should never have gone to court. And that made sense to me, too, because by knowing Henry VIII, that led to his death.
Yeah. Wow.
So those are just two stories in this this book that are filled with places that I went to in England.
If you enjoyed this episode, the best way to show your support is to rate or review us on whatever platform you're listening. And if this episode left you feeling like you just had to be there, reach out to Kelly to start planning an adventure of your own. Don't forget to follow us at HadToBeThere203 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And visit our website, www.hadtobethere.net. Until next time, get out there and make your own Had to Be There memories.